Imagine waking up at midnight to the sound of your world snapping in half. Thousands of miles from land, your boat is sinking, and you have 30 seconds to decide if you live or die. In 1982, Stephen Callahan was solo sailing across the Atlantic in a small boat he built with his own hands. It was a dark, stormy night when a massive thud rocked the hull. He didn't see it, but he knew what happened. A whale had struck his ship. Water poured in like a river. He barely had time to grab a survival kit and a spear gun before his boat vanished into the black depths. Stephen was left with nothing but a 5-foot inflatable raft. Imagine that. A piece of rubber no bigger than a bathtub, floating in the middle of the most dangerous ocean on Earth. For the next 76 days, Stephen entered a world of pure survival. He was thousands of miles from help. To stay alive, he had to become a primitive hunter. He used his spear gun to catch mahi-mahi and even birds that landed on his raft. He ate them raw, swallowing the eyes and organs just to get enough moisture and nutrients to keep his heart beating. Water was his biggest enemy. He had solar stills, tiny plastic tents meant to turn salt water into fresh water using the sun. But they were finicky and often broke. He was always one day away from dying of thirst, his throat so dry it felt like it was filled with hot sand. And then there were the sharks. They didn't just circle, they attacked. Large sharks would slam into the bottom of his raft, trying to flip him or bite through the thin fabric. Stephen could feel their power through the floor, knowing that only a few millimeters of rubber stood between him and a watery grave. The physical pain was constant. Saltwater sores covered his body, and the constant friction of the raft rubbed his skin raw. His muscles began to waste away until he looked like a skeleton wrapped in burnt, leathery skin. At one point, his raft actually tore. For over a week, he had to manually pump air into the raft every few hours, even while trying to sleep, just to keep from sinking. He was fighting a battle against gravity and exhaustion that he was losing. He watched 9 ships pass him by. He fired flares, he waved, he screamed, but he was a tiny speck in a vast blue desert. No one saw him. He was completely alone. On the 76th day, something changed. The water turned a different shade of green. He saw birds circling overhead. Finally, off the coast of an island in the Caribbean, 3 fishermen spotted a ragged, deflated raft drifting toward the reefs. They couldn't believe their eyes when a man, weak and trembling, stood up. Stephen Callahan had lost 40 pounds and nearly his mind, but he had crossed 1,800 miles of ocean in a rubber ring. He didn't just survive the Atlantic. He proved that the human will is the strongest force on the planet. What would you do if you were in that raft? But the rescue was only the beginning of a different kind of torture. You might think that after 76 days of hell, Stephen would never look at the ocean again. You'd expect him to move to a cabin in the mountains, as far away from salt water as possible. But the mind of a survivor is a complex, often contradictory landscape. When the fishermen pulled him aboard, the sudden sensory overload nearly broke him. After months of nothing but blue horizons and the sound of wind, the vibrant colors of the island and the voices of people were physically painful. His body had forgotten how to process solid food. His stomach revolted against anything richer than fish fluid. But strangest of all was the stillness. For weeks, he couldn't sleep in a bed because it didn't move. The lack of rocking, the absence of the constant threat of death, left him feeling exposed. He had become an aquatic creature, and the land felt alien. Stephen later revealed a chilling detail about his time in the raft that he kept to himself for a long time. He wasn't truly alone out there. In the depths of his starvation and dehydration, his brain snapped. He began to hallucinate a spirit crew. He would hold full council meetings with imaginary shipmates, arguing with them about water rations and navigation. He would yell at them to help him pump the raft. This dissociation wasn't madness. It was a biological defense mechanism. His brain created a society to keep him from giving up, because humans are social animals, we die in silence. Cruelly, the very thing that tried to kill him became his life's work. Stephen didn't just go back to sailing, he obsessed over it. He used his nightmare to redesign life rafts, fixing the flaws that nearly cost him his life. He consulted on movies like Life of Pi, teaching directors what it actually looks like to watch your own body decay while surrounded by infinite beauty. He taught the world that survival isn't just about equipment, it's about psychology. He proved that the moment you panic, you die. The moment you pity yourself, you die. You have to treat survival like a job, a mundane, daily grind of fixing, fishing, and waiting. And yet, as incredible as Stephen's 76 days were, they stand as a gateway to an even darker reality of the ocean. His story is a testament to skill, but there are others that defy all logic. Consider for a moment the story of Jose Salvador Alvarenga. If Stephen's 2.5 months seemed like an eternity, try to comprehend 438 days. That is over a year drifting from Mexico to the Marshall Islands. When we look at men like Stephen or Alvarenga, we stop asking, how did they survive? And start asking, what are human beings actually capable of? We live comfortable lives, surrounded by convenience, unaware of the dormant beast inside our DNA that wakes up when the lights go out. Stephen Callahan didn't just survive a wreck, he introduced us to that beast. So, the next time you look at the ocean, don't just see a view. See it for what it is. A wilderness that doesn't care if you live or die, and the only place where you might meet the person you truly are.
Almost gone.